What's good? It's your boy Fanon. All right, man. Terence Crawford, Bob Arum. People wondered why did Terence Crawford sign with Bob Arum? It's bad move for him. And we always wonder, I always say, man, what are the techniques that Bob Arum can use to make these people re-sign with him? And I just saw something where Top Rank and Terence Crawford were sued for about $500,000 from this organization called Middleton Sports, who say that Terence Crawford originally was with an organization called TKO Promotions, and one of the owners, once that organization got into financial trouble, was assigned the rights to Terence Crawford. And when they assigned those rights to Terence Crawford, to that guy, whatever it's Middendorf, came to an agreement with Terence Crawford that he would let Terence Crawford sign with Top Rank in exchange for 8% of all his title defenses. 8% of his title defenses, of the purses associated with his title defenses. So Terence Crawford signs that release. Top Rank agrees to pay the money. Now, I'm just assuming this part here, that Top Rank agreed to pay Middledorf out of the purses and the monies that was paid to Terence Crawford, right? So similarly, like when you have a manager work for a boxer, that the manager is paid straight by the promoter. So this particular guy, Middledorf, entered into an agreement with Terence Crawford where Terence Crawford and Top Rank would agree to pay him a percentage of Terence Crawford's purse. Now, there was some argument about whether purse just included, just the money, or whether it included share of the gate that Terence Crawford might got from subsequent contracts. The court said that purse just means everything, right? Purse means everything, and title defenses include unification bouts, which is common sense because you are defending your title in a unification bout. That's just plain and simple. Because if you have the WBO championship and you lose it, and you lose the fight, you are defending your belt because you could lose it. But regardless, that's not the important part of this. The important part is that Terence Crawford, because the original contract that he signed for his promoter allowed them to assign the contract to other people without his exclusive permission, allowed them to put him in a situation where when they went bankrupt, that he couldn't get out of the contract. Always be careful when you're reading an agreement and they say that they have the right to assign that contract to somebody else. Always look at that clause and argue about it. No, you don't have the right to assign this contract. Do I have the right to assign it to another boxer? Right? There's no way that TKO Promotions would have allowed Terence Crawford to assign that contract to another boxer. So why would Terence Crawford's people agree to allow Terence Crawford, TKO to assign his contract to somebody else? But anyway, the most important part to me is Bob Arum, because Bob Arum stopped paying the money. Bob Arum stopped paying the money after the Victor Postol fight. Why would Bob Arum? This dude is a Harvard-educated lawyer. He knows what title defense means. The argument they put up for not paying the guy was super flimsy. It was a plain English definition of title defense. He should have paid for the Victor Postol fight. Clearly, he should have paid for the Ndungo fight. Clearly, he'll pay for the fight like Amir Khan, the fight that he just had for Jose Benavidez, the fights that he had. I think it was it John Molina that they fought. Bob Arum knows that those are title defenses. But what did Bob Arum do? Bob Arum didn't pay that guy. When Bob didn't pay him, though, who is actually responsible for the money? Is Bob Arum responsible for the money? Or is Terence Crawford responsible for the money? I would have to see the agreement to tell you, but I have a serious suspicion that it's Terence Crawford that was ultimately responsible to pay that money because he's the one that signed the release. If he was the one that said, hey, I promise to give you 8% of my purse if you let me out of this agreement that I have with you so I can sign with Top Rank. And then Top Rank put in their contract that they agreed to pay 8% of your purse to Middleton Sports, to the former promoter or the person who was assigned it from the former promoter, then it's Terence Crawford that owes that money. So who really owes this $500,000 and where is this $500,000 going to come from that Terence Crawford is going that this guy from Middleton Sports says that he's owed? It's going to come from Terence Crawford. It's going to come out of Terence Crawford's purses. So now Bob Arum has got a hook into Terence Crawford because he put Terence Crawford in debt. I'm telling you, man. Now that's just, again, I read the decision. I've read the decision. I read the history behind it. I have not seen the contract, the promotional agreement between Terence Crawford and Top Rank. I haven't seen the restated promotional agreement or the original promotional agreement. And I definitely did not see the release between Terence Crawford and Middleton Sports. But it's really hard for me to believe that Bob Arum didn't know what he was doing. That he didn't know when he stopped paying that guy money that Terence Crawford was going to be on the hook for paying that. To not pay that, oh my God, man. Why wouldn't you pay it? You know that you have to pay. You know you have to pay for a title defense. And this is what they said. They said that they didn't believe that the money shouldn't. First of all, they didn't pay any money. So the fact that he didn't pay any money just makes me believe that you're just coming up with any type of argument saying that you weren't supposed to, pay the amount of money that you got from the revenue, the ticket sales, right, on the event. Dude, if you don't have that clearly spelled out that that's not included, then the court's going to argue, or Middledorf is going to say, no, it includes all money that you're paying him. I get 8%. So I get 8% of his cut of the gate. I get 8% of his purse. I get 8% of anything that you give him. I get 8% off the top. I seriously suspect Bob Arum put Terence Crawford in a position where he was going to owe money. And if he doesn't have that money in his pocket, he's going to probably have to borrow that money from Top Rank in order to pay that guy off. The $500,000 that he's going to owe him. And by the way, $500,000 and growing, because Terence Crawford has to pay 8% of his purses as long as Terence Crawford is promoted by Top Rank. 8% as long as Terence Crawford is promoted by Top Rank and is defending a title. So the only way that Terence Crawford is going to get out of paying that 8% is if he leaves Top Rank or if he loses a belt. And there's only one fight in all of the fights that he's had since 2000 over the last 5 years that didn't qualify for 8% cut off the top to Middledorf. That's why you be real careful, man. I mean, because like I said, man, I don't do boxing contracts. But I've been reading them more and more. People have been sending them to me. I'm reading the court cases related to the disputes over them. And I'm telling you, man, you young boxers, there are certain things that I would tell that if you have the leverage to do, you don't let somebody assign an agreement. If you enter an agreement with somebody, that agreement should be between you and them. They should not be able to sell that agreement to somebody else, which is what they did. Which is what TKO did when they sold that to Middledorf. They didn't have the money to promote Terence Crawford if they were going out of business. When they went out of business, Terence Crawford agreement with them should have went out of business. But it didn't, because Terence Crawford's contract allowed them to assign it to somebody else. And they assigned it to somebody that was an owner in TKO. But Bob Arum knew this stuff, man. Bob Arum knew this, and I have to believe Bob Arum knew it when he stopped paying. Because why would he not pay? It benefits him not to pay. You're giving Terence Crawford his money, right? So Terence Crawford's getting his purse, but He's getting paid 8% more than he should be. And when the time comes that he's going to have to pay up, because he's going to have to pay up, then he's going to probably have to go to Bob Arum to borrow that money if he's not taking care of his business, which is exactly what Floyd Mayweather Jr. said about how Bob Arum and these guys get people and make them stay in contracts by giving them advances. Essentially, this 8% was an advance. 8% of Terence Crawford's purses since 2014 have been de facto advances. 8% of it, to the tune of $500,000, man. If Terence Crawford got $500,000, man, you're gonna have to pay that guy that money. But then you're gonna have to keep paying him. And you got to find a way to get out of that contract with Bob Arum. Otherwise, you're stuck with 8%, and 8% grows. So if he pays you $100 million, if you got a Floyd Mayweather Jr. payday of $100 million, you're gonna owe that guy Middledorf $8 million. Shit's crazy. Anyway, it is what it is. With that, I'm out. Peace.